Welcome to Human Rights Asia Weekly Roundup. In today's program, special focus police torture for extortion. UN marks International Day for the Elimination of Violence Against Women. Sri Lanka human rights defender smeared as traitor. Nepal elections held as success. Video of Pakistan fake encounter killing leaked. Magundano massacre widows' 4th anniversary poem. Stay with us for more on these issues. Welcome to Human Rights Asia Weekly Roundup. I am Muhammad Ashrafuzzaman. In our special report on police torture for extortion, we start in the Philippines, where this is a widespread problem. With us in the studio now, we have AHRC's Danilo Reyes. Welcome, Danilo Reyes.
Thank you.
You have pointed out that police torture people not just to obtain a confession, but also for extortion and promotion. Can you tell us a bit more about that?
There's a common understanding that when the police extract confession, that is for purposes of judicial evidence. But the police and the military knows very well that it takes years to complete a case in court trial. So they have other benefits apart from judicial process. That's their way of making money, and that's their way of gaining promotion. For example, the recent example of a case documented by Karapatan. His name is the victim's name is Role Panessa. So the police and the military arrested him, insisting that he is another person whose name is Benjamin Mendoza. So in arresting that person, the military had rewarded their own asset around 5.6 million peso. So they tortured the person. The purpose of torturing him was not only for to give evidence to court, but also to use that evidence to get the reward. On many cases, torture is used because the police and the military gets benefit out of it. In Philippines and also in other Asian countries, this kind of pattern is very common. And the problem in dealing with preventing and eradicating torture is how do you eradicate a practice from which the police and the military benefits from torturing suspects. They make money, they get promotion, and they are rewarded for doing such illegal acts.
The Philippines is not the only country in Asia where police torture for the purpose of extortion is rife. Earlier, we spoke with Indian Supreme Court lawyer Ashok Agarwal, who shared his views on the problem in India as well as some personal experience of being extorted by the police.
Extortion, of course, the weaker, the more helpless and powerless you are, the more susceptible you are to extortion. But in the right circumstances, even a person like me could become a victim. I give you a personal example. I was involved in a motor accident about 15 years ago, more than that. It was a very foggy night, and a person who was drunk jumped out of behind a tree and hit my car. The policeman openly told me, he says, "You're a lawyer. I don't really want to say this. I feel embarrassed about saying this to you, but I need some money." I refused to give him money, so he registered a case against me, which lasted 4 years. And I contested the case. I was acquitted in the case, and he had put up false witnesses. But I'm just telling you that if I had given him a couple of thousand rupees, I wouldn't have had to go through all that. So I can also be, extorted. People like me can also be extorted. Anyone, depending on the situation.
Now over to Sri Lanka, where the AHRC has documented thousands of cases of torture. In most of those cases, the people have been tortured due to the police engaging in extortion. Either the police demand money from the victim's family for the release of the victim, or the police have taken bribes from the complainants and tortured the person on behalf of the complainants. There have also been cases were people who have been arrested without any reason only because the police have taken a bribe from the actual culprit. Then they arrest an innocent person to create the impression that they have solved the crime. Here is Aruna Nilupul, a well-known interior decorator who is one of many examples of innocent people extorted and tortured by the police.
එතෙන්ද මගේ ඇස් වලට මිරිස් දාලා මගේ ලිංගය ප්‍රදේශයට මිරිස් දාලා මාව බිම නිදි කරවලා තිබ්බේ මගේ යටිපල්ලවල වලට පොල්ලකින් ගැව්වා ඒක නිකන් ජනෙල් කුරක් වගේ පොල්ලක් කළු පාට පොල්ලක්.
After Aruna Nilupul reported the incident to various authorities in Sri Lanka, police visited his home to try to pressure him to withdraw the complaint. Aruna had installed hidden cameras in his home and managed to record the visit. He refused to withdraw his complaint and the case is ongoing. Police and paramilitary forces in Bangladesh routinely use torture for the purpose of extorting money. Law enforcement agencies regularly arrest citizens, including businessmen, and detain them arbitrarily for days without any accessible records or lawful grounds. The detainees are intimidated and may have fabricated charges made against them. Often, the detainees are threatened to be killed if they fail to pay bribes. The Asian Human Rights Commission recently talked to a victim of extortion and torture by Bangladesh police. The businessman described how the police illegally raided his house in the early morning for money. When no money was found in the house, they detained and tortured the man while the officers demanded 100 million Bangladeshi taka. When the businessman could not bear the torture anymore, he agreed to pay 10 million Bangladeshi taka to Mullah Nazrul Islam, Deputy Commissioner of the Dhaka Metropolitan Police. The police demanded that he calls his wife to bring the money. When his wife could not manage to bring the full amount to the police officer, they held the wife hostage until the businessman could bring the rest of the money. The Ministry of Home Affairs, which controls the police headquarters, and the Anti-Corruption Commission have each received complaints from the victim. However, all these institutions have failed to take any action against the alleged extortion and torture. In Indonesia, torture and ill treatment are often used as means to punish crime suspects who refuse to give money to state officials such as the police and prison guards. In an interview with the AHRC, victims of torture and fabrication of charges, Syamsul Arifin described how he spent approximately $8,000 during detention in order to avoid ill treatment and receive minimum standard treatment. Here is the excerpt of our interview with Syamsul over the phone earlier.
Kemudian begitu biaya pindah kamar karena saya kan tidak bisa tidur mbak di situ selama 4 hari dengan ukuran kamar 7 kali 9 meter dulu oleh 100 orang, kadang 150, 140 itu kan nggak bisa tidur, yang ada cuma kita bisa duduk-duduk aja atau kadang kita cuma ya tidur sambil duduk itu. Untuk biaya pindah kamar itu 350.000, itu uang diberikan kepada petugas registrasi yang ada di depan.
The United Nations International Day for the Elimination of Violence Against Women falls on November 25th. Violence devastates the lives of millions of women and girls every year around the world. According to the United Nations, among women aged 15 to 44, acts of violence cause more death and disability than cancer, malaria, traffic accidents, and war combined. Asia is no exception, with women suffering abuse and violence in many of its deeply patriarchal societies. Violence against women in Asia include gender-selective abortion and female infanticide, which has a long history in India and China, child sexual abuse, sex trafficking and forced labor, rape, domestic violence, and a number of harmful traditional practices such as early and forced marriage, dowry-related and so-called honor killings, which is common in South Asian countries. Violence against women is a global human rights crisis that destabilizes countries, hinders economic progress, and prevents women from creating better lives for themselves and their families and participating actively in their communities. The United Nations Development Fund for Women estimates that 1 in every 3 women globally has been beaten, coerced into sex, or otherwise abused in her lifetime. Earlier, we spoke with some of AHRC staff and interns about their views on this day.
All over the world, there are many women are suffering from abuses.
I think such a day is very helpful because it spreads awareness.
It's a good occasion to think about a problem which continues to be prevalent in all societies in the world.
It's important because violence against women is just another form of discrimination.
The Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation carried a special program portraying human rights defender and trade unionist lawyer Nilmalka Fernando as a traitor and a threat to the nation, raising the question whether she should be allowed to live in Sri Lanka. The program was meant to create public agitation against human rights defenders in general who support the call by the United Nations for instituting inquiries into the human rights violations alleged to have taken place in Sri Lanka. AHRC condemns the abuse of the state media to attack human rights defenders and says that such calls for inquiries into alleged violations is a primary obligation of the government in terms of the country's constitution as well as the international UN conventions Sri Lanka has become party to. Nilmalka Fernando and others are merely calling for the government to do the right thing on behalf of the families of the persons who have suffered violations of their rights by way of enforced disappearances, extrajudicial killings, torture, and war crimes. Nepal successfully conducted its second Constituent Assembly elections on November 19. Voter turnout is expected to be around 70%. Vote counting is being carried out and expected to finish within a week for first past the post and 2 weeks for the proportional representation, according to the Election Commission. The elections were largely peaceful. However, the AHRC is concerned about a bomb blast in Kathmandu, where 3 children were injured, and incidents of booth captures and violence in Dailek and Jumla. The Election Commission should properly investigate these incidents. We will report more on Nepal election results next week. The AHRC has received a leaked video relating to the events leading up to the extrajudicial killing of Afzal Panwar in Sindh, Pakistan in August this year. He was a student leader of the GA Sindh Student Federation. In an urgent appeal issued at the time of his killing, the AHRC mentioned that Panwar was arrested and taken to a jungle area at the bank of the river Indus at Kotri. The police claimed that Panwar was killed in a legitimate police encounter. The AHRC says that the video features convincing evidence that the encounter was fake and set up by the police. It shows clearly that the victim's arm was severely broken, which poses the question as to how he might have fired upon the officers as is claimed. Fake police encounters are used by the law enforcement agencies to avoid legal process and embarrassing questions as to how suspects died in their custody, unusually as a result of routine brutal torture.
4 years ago, my husband was murdered along with 58 other people, and 32 journalists were among of them. The Ampatuan clan who committed the massacre has not been brought to justice. This 4th anniversary, I wrote a poem dedicated not only to my husband, for the other victims too. And You and Me Against the World. You and Me Against the World is an intense, deep emotions inside my inner feelings and my heart desires. Still, I do hope sweet victory will be ours in the end. A true passion, a strong conviction for you and me will promote a good example and an eye-opener to all without any doubt. From the very start, numerous circumstances contributes in between the two of us, but perseverance in spite of certain crushing difficulty. No white lies, no honest mistakes, no contradictions, no degrading, but we stand for the truth. Not be proud of, but humble ourselves is the only weapon we have. Even though it's not going too well as of this moment, but there's a big possibility to achieve a feat and to win a great professional victory.
That is all for this week's Human Rights Asia Weekly Roundup. For more information on these issues, log on to www.humanrights.asia. Thank you for watching and hope to see you again next week.